Engage, and this is the SoulFull podcast, episode 2. Welcome. I hope you are having a beautiful day. I hope you're feeling blessed in this moment. We can take a moment here and just to drop into a nice frequency before I begin to share about my trip and experiences in Peru. I was there for 6.5 weeks from November through December, and it was incredible. So let's just go ahead and relax. You can breathe deeply, slowly. In through the nose and out deeply, slowly. We can put our hand on our hearts as we're slowly breathing and bring a smile to our face. And just smile and breathe. Blessing this moment, blessing this transmission. Many blessings to you, beautiful soul. All right. I like to get a little quiet before I do basically everything in life, but especially this podcast because it's quite exciting and I get a little bit wound up. So thank you for bearing with me in the future. For future reference, feel free to skip over this if you are not in a position to get quiet or not feeling it, but I recommend take a few moments to get quiet whenever we can. So stillness is where we can find all the answers, including peace and love. But yeah, let's talk about Peru. Let's just jump right into it. I've been very excited to share, and so much happened 6.5 weeks where I was constantly on adventure mode and doing my best to keep up with work and obligations, which is great because most places in the world now have great Wi-Fi. And I had an amazing Airbnb with anything I could have needed, including good Wi-Fi. But man, so originally I was going for 5.5 weeks or about 5 weeks, and it was extended a couple times because I just couldn't leave. I had so many things I wanted to do while I was there. And I guess I'll just, start from the beginning. This was something I planned a trip. I guess you could say the first destination on a pilgrimage that I'm currently on around the world, around to these different places that have been calling me for years now. But now I'm realizing is the time in my life I need to visit these places and to explore and to have new experiences and to see beautiful places, because I think traveling is one of my greatest passions and one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves, because we learn so much about the world and we learn so much about ourselves, and we get out and see new things and experience new cultures, learn to speak new languages, and we get to see the things that bring us all together as human, which is the most important part. And I was feeling called to the Sacred Valley of Peru for so long. I mean, since I can remember, that I've always wanted to see the ancient sites, the land, the nature, the plant medicines, the culture. And I was planning on this journey, this pilgrimage, starting about this time, January, February 2025, as I was trying to save up and realizing I had about a year planned out to go to some very specific places, and it was going to be very tough to make all these things happen because essentially for the next chapter part of my life to open up, I've realized this calling to go to these places is something I have to do before anything else. And it's very exciting and it's very, very honorable, and I've got to know this purpose very, very deeply now as I've been on this journey now for a few months, which involves also me doing a lot of teaching, this podcast, the webinars that I plan on doing at least once a month, but also teaching meditation, working one-on-one with people in small groups, working with children, volunteering, but ultimately just bringing a really positive energy to any space I'm in. But teaching things like meditation and good health, mindfulness is really my passion in helping people. As I've been able to do with myself, I like to guide and teach others how to do that for themselves, reclaim their power, become the creator of their reality. I was told from, someone who was very trusted that, is very connected, and it was through a channeled message from Source that I was going to be there sooner. And long story short, I ended up there it was originally going to be the last week of October, but I ended up getting there in November. The first week of November, really spent November and December there, and it was perfect timing, and everything unfolded in divine timing, how it was supposed to, just like everything does in our lives when we're paying attention. And so when I got there, I was very excited. I had no expectations. I should preface by saying a big part of my journey there was to sit with plant medicines and to do a retreat, which I found an amazing place called Arcana, which has locations in the Amazon jungle near Iquitos and also in the Sacred Valley in Urubamba, which is where I was staying also for about 6 weeks in an Airbnb after the retreat. And so before I went to Peru, I had the opportunity to try ayahuasca. And that's something, a medicine that had been calling me for years. I've worked with other medicines very intimately, and something I was very much ready and excited for. But I went into the experience in this trip into Peru with no expectations, just really ready for whatever the world was going to show me, and just surrendering to this calling that was feeling so sacred and dear to my heart without having any plans or ideas of what was going to happen and or where I was going to end up or who I was going to meet, and just so much beauty unfolded there. So I tried ayahuasca in about July, and had an amazing experience. It was a really, really amazing group of people who have an amazing mission, and was just in such a safe, sacred space. And but ultimately didn't have this like super crazy experience that you hear a lot of people have with ayahuasca. And I really realized I was there to not only get some pretty real confirmations that I was on the right path, and that my inner work and my healing and purification of my body, mind, and spirit. I had a very smooth experience. I was able to see how healthy I am in this current stage in life, all the work I've done and the connection to my soul and to my heart. But I got to see in that session or in that evening, it was about 4 cups, with the last cup being a small dose, but it was a 12-hour overnight experience. And the first cup, I didn't feel much at all, really. And I had to really just learn how to surrender to the experience and being outside at nighttime with bugs and all sorts of stuff, July in Florida. And ultimately was able to calm down and surrender just to be there and hold space if that was what I was there for, and just to be like a loving presence and just enjoy the experience as much as I could. Until the second cup, where I was able to feel things a little bit more, and I was still struggling, asking myself, what am I here for? What am I looking to get out of this experience? What do I need from this experience? And feeling silly after realizing I was talking to myself, in my head, I asked the medicine, I said, what do I need from this experience? And then immediately I was overcome with this just like hug of joy and unconditional love and bliss, this like warm blanket of love from Mother Earth or Mother Nature, and yeah, or Mother Aya, and was just like crying tears of joy for a few hours and just really embracing such a beautiful moment. And no crazy visuals or visions, but just really this beautiful sensation that I was overcome with for a few hours. And I was just channeling love into the space. And I got to see later in that ceremony how I was still living in my head actually at times, and not working purely from the heart, and living and operating from the heart and through compassion, and being a little too logical or not being compassionate enough with people in my life. So it was a really beautiful experience ultimately, and it gave me some work to do until the Peru trip, which hadn't even been planned at that time. Was just everything in perfect timing as the trip to Peru moved a lot closer to, the end of October, early November. So yeah, I get to Peru, jump ahead now, and 2 days in Cusco Centro, which is like, the main city. It's very high elevation in the mountains, just a super beautiful city. There's tons of views where you can see the entire city with the snow-capped peaks in the background. It's surrounded by mountains in this little valley. Really cool city, all sorts of ruins like Sashiwaman, and I basically saw everything I could in that area within 30, 40 minutes, either by foot or by taxi in about 2 days, and really hit the ground running. Got used to the elevation that way, which is really great. After 2.5 days in Cusco, I was to meet at this hotel, and we were going to the valley, in the Sacred Valley, to Urubamba, where the retreat center was located. So we take a bus, a van, over to the retreat center, and I was so excited. I was so ready. I had been doing a dieta for about 4 weeks. Um, I can go deeper on those details later, but I'm very strict with working with these medicines. It's a very respectful and honorable process working with these medicines. They're very powerful and transformational, and they need to be treated with respect. And I always do, not only with myself in ceremony and preparation, but with everybody that I work with these medicines as well. It's one of the most important things. And we get there, and then this place is heaven on earth. Like immediately when we arrived, I could already feel it. I mean, there's so much excitement I was filled with, but the land there in the valley, something I felt the entire time I was there, but especially in this location in Arcana, spiritual healing center. Just a beautiful plot of land and flowers and fruit trees that you can't even imagine, and a couple dogs, a couple cats running around, and I think we were 14 total. And then, there's probably like another 10, 15 people on staff, from cooks and chefs and people who care for the facility, and of course the facilitators and the maestros. And this place is a dream. Highly, highly recommend Arcana Spiritual Center. If you ever being called to any sorts of plant medicines, they also have retreat centers in Mexico working with other medicines, traditional medicines there. But in Peru, they work with the traditional medicines of the Shipipo tribe in Peru from the Amazon rainforest, where, ayahuasca comes from. And then also Huachuma, which is the San Pedro cactus, very similar to peyote, which is, essentially mescaline is the medicine that is in this cactus. And Huachuma, San Pedro actually, is known to come from the Andes Mountains there in the Sacred Valley. So, both of these medicines come from Peru in their respective locations. And then also Bufo alvarius, the toad or the Sonoran desert toad. And, this is 5-MeO-DMT, one of the more powerful psychedelics and entheogenic compounds on the planet. And I was very excited and very much ready to sit with all these medicines after learning about them for so many years and hearing about so many, life-changing experiences. And so here I am at Arcana, and it's 7 days, 3 ayahuasca ceremonies, ending the final day, third ceremony with the Bufo or Sapo ceremony, Thursday, with in conjunction later that evening with the third ayahuasca ceremony, and then we end the week with San Pedro Huachuma to really bring it down to earth and connect with the group. It's a much more gentle, grounding, body, nature connecting medicine than ayahuasca is, which is a much more profound, more inner journey of an experience where San Pedro Huachuma is it can be internal, but a more external, connecting with nature, with the body, being more aware of your surroundings. This retreat had all 3 of these medicines that I had been called to, and it was the perfect place, and everything ended up, working out and how it was supposed to. It was the most perfect week, just incredible. The food, the service, the energy, the integration, the support, I mean, everything. The facilitation during ceremony, the maestros, the medicine. I mean, literally every single aspect just blew my mind. So I guess we'll jump right into it. The first day, Monday, start the week. We arrived on Sunday. So Monday we're hanging out during the day, preparing for our first ceremony, do some meditation. I think we did a little bit of breath work with one of the facilitators beforehand, and then we're winding down. It's very quiet when we first begin to fill in the room or the temple or the maloka for ceremony before the maestros arrive with the medicine. We settle in. I'm basically meditating the entire time, getting into my heart, really grounding, repeating a mantra that came to me during meditation before I came to the temple, which was, I have no fear. I know nothing but love, which is a mantra we can all live by, to moment. We truly are love, and it's a frequency we can connect with every moment of our lives. It's our true nature, our divine essence is divine love, infinite loving awareness. But it was 3 cups, or an option of 3 cups, 2 cups essentially, starting with a little bit less of the medicine and then upping the second dose if needed, and then a potential third dose optionally if needed. And I had been talking all day about going for the third dose. I was fully ready to surrender to this experience and sit with these medicines in a very intimate, and I was planning on doing just that, going very deep. First cup, I was really, feeling it, definitely more than the first cup I did when I was in Florida. I could feel it was going to be a different experience. And we're in a very dark room where you can't see your hand in front of your face. And it was a rectangle room, which we are, around the outside of in our beds, our mattresses. And then, of course, the maestros. There was 3 of them the first night. So incredible. Right in the middle of the room, they serve the medicine. They also take the medicine, and then they begin to sing their medicine songs, or their icoros. And these are songs that they don't start singing until they get into the medicine, and the medicine begins to speak through them as they channel these songs. That is such a part of the experience. I got to see in such a deep level how these songs and these maestros hold space for the room and hold space for this medicine to move not only through the room but through our bodies and through our energies, and just the healing powers that these maestros really have. And not only them, but the way they work with the medicine in conjunction. So super incredible. Yeah, after the first cup, I was ready for the second cup very much, and picking up the dose. I was sort of just moving with feeling the medicine in my body, feeling flowing, and I was dancing with the icaros and moving and feeling very, very much like this love was starting to pour into me, this divine love that we feel in these types of ceremonies and situations. And I was in a seated position meditating, and I began, just getting into connecting with my heart and really dropping into my heart space, which is what I do when I meditate first thing, when I do, anything. If my eyes are closed and I'm going within, I go through the heart center. It's always important to ground and connect with the heart, which, is able to then allow everything else energetically to be centered and grounded. So I was so ready for the second cup, and then after the second cup, I was feeling it much more. I began to feel my body sort of start to freeze up, but in a warm way, like almost solidify, where I stopped feeling my body. It became like a foundation, and as my light body, or my etheric, energetic body, began to leave my body from the top of my head. And at this point was in the top of the room, basically swirling and surfing with the icaros, the medicine songs that I could see now were moving not only the energy in the room, but the energy through all of our bodies, including my own body, or my energy, which I was now in the room, in the space. And I could see, just everything was just like light and energy, and so much love was pouring in. And the only thing I could feel, like my connection to my physical body, was just that my heart was continuously through the night expanding into this new state, and almost and being activated in many ways, looking back later. And it felt like my heart, my energy center, my heart chakra was just this massive vortex that was funneling this energy into the space and grounding my body into this energy. And it was so beautiful. I was essentially in the heavens, and spent a couple hours really in this beautiful space, like as my soul. I was purely as my soul. I knew who Evan was. It wasn't a complete ego death. I just realized I was separate from that person that Evan is. I was out of the body. I was in my internal essence, my soul, which, doesn't have the name Evan, has been many names, and is much bigger than Evan. And it was beautiful, and so many answers and, confirmations of things I had been feeling up to this moment. And I was really experiencing the downloads and communications I had been experiencing through my higher self and my own connection to source, and firsthand experiencing these frequencies. To the third cup, when it was time for the third cup, it was very quiet in the room. There was the first night in these types of retreats can be very tough for people who, are really coming into the experience to do some really deep healing and are holding on to maybe, not only some physical health issues, but some emotional issues or mental issues as well, which can lead to a lot of purging, which can look like vomiting or going number two, or, shaking, crying, laughing, screaming, all sorts of things. So these experiences can be quite interesting. And yeah, the first night there was obviously some purging going on, and I was doing my best to just send so much loving energy to my brothers and sisters who were healing. And yeah, I didn't have too much purging going on the entire time. But so it was time for the third cup, and I gave somebody, the first chance to go up. I wasn't going to be the first, just being polite. And no one got up, so I figured it was time, and I got up. I took the third dose, and but right before I did this, my brother John, one of the facilitators who was serving the medicine this evening, the second and third doses, he was wearing sort of like this shawl that had, or something around his neck that had a lion on it, and he had a rosary with a cross. And when I got down to get the third cup, which is, we have these red lights so it doesn't disturb the room, I could barely see him, and I'm pretty deep in the medicine. I see his lion, which I have a tattooed lion on me. I'm a triple Leo in astrology, and I've always connected with the lion as one of my higher spirits and guides, if not a portion of my higher self. I meditate with a lion occasionally in this, in one of my inner gardens in my mind, like Rastafari and Bob Marley, and the connection with the lion. And so I see this lion with his rosary that was like literally right over this lion's third eye, and it just immediately shot me into this wormhole, this experience that felt like 15 minutes, but was probably only a few seconds, where time stopped and unfolded like a helix, like a double helix, almost like DNA, and I could see every moment that had happened from the last week that had got me to that moment. I was sitting in front of John receiving this medicine in this pitch dark room, deep on an ayahuasca journey. And not only did I see the synchronicities that I had been very aware of over the last week, that I was, every day is synchronicities now in my life, honestly. Like, the more we pay attention, like, they're everywhere. They're always happening. But I was seeing these very real synchronicities leading up to this journey, and I saw not only how those were all connected, but every moment in between them, literally every second, every conversation and step that I had taken was connected and divinely orchestrated. And, obviously that spans to my entire life, and that, is something that we all experience. This is the way time and life works. Everything is divinely orchestrated. We just think we have free will. Free will is the destiny of the higher self, essentially, which is a great quote from Robert Edward Grant. And so after the third cup, I had this quick experience. It was really amazing, and I took the third cup, went back to my seat, and at this point, and then two other people who also got the third cup. So we were the third cup warriors that first night. And yeah, after the third cup, this was later in the evening, and long story short, I was, basically seeing sacred patterns and hearing the Icaros from the maestros, from the shamans, till probably like 7 in the morning, and just seeing nothing but light codes and sacred geometry as I'm trying to fall asleep in bed. But yeah, I was spent that third dose, the rest of that third night, that first night, just traveling the cosmos and essentially in the heavens, and just existing as divine love and infinite, loving awareness, consciousness. So it was really beautiful. And during the share, in the morning the next day, it was, I said it was the best night of my entire life, because it truly was. I didn't know how I was going to top it. It was the most profound experience that I had experienced to that moment, even amongst other pretty profound experiences with other entheogenic compounds or psychedelic plants and fungi. So, but little did I know. So the second day, second ceremony, I'm pretty excited about it. I took about 55 milliliters the first night, so I'm planning on doing 45, because I was very, very deep in the medicine till very deep into the morning after the first ceremony. And it was amazing, but I was looking to maybe have a more contained experience the second night. And so I thought I would take 45, and then as I was approaching the ceremony the second night, I ended up bumping it up to 50. I was feeling called to do more, just called to go so deep with the medicine. I was ready to, not only experience whatever it was for me, for my highest good, and the highest good for all, which is always my main intention, but also, just to trust and surrender, not only to the medicine, but to life and to this experience and to this calling. So the second night was a little bit different, and I had a feeling it was going to be different leading up to it. I actually was like a little bit nervous, a little more nervous than I was the first night, even after this beautiful ceremony I had the first night, just like becoming love, capital L. And so immediately the medicine comes on very strong and much sooner than the first night. And, because I just took 50 right out the gate. So I'm beginning to blast off, and I get very cold and I get very heavy, and this is completely opposite from the first night, which is very light and warm. So I get cold, heavy. I begin to sink into my mattress. I couldn't sit this evening. I was looking, it was going to be a night of laying. And I put the blanket over me. I got very comfortable as the cold got even more intense, and immediately I put my right hand on my chest, on my heart, and this new energy I had embraced and activated in my heart center to keep me grounded. And I put my left hand out and I kept it up, and this was so instinctively just to receive from above. This is my way to keep me grounded in psychedelic experiences or in ceremonies, and this is something maybe you can try if you try in the future. And not only was I feeling grounded in my body, in my heart space, I felt just, the mother, Aya, or, Mother Nature, the spirit of the mother in this medicine, grab my hand, like quite literally grab my hand with a warm touch. It was the only part of me that was warm. And as I continued to drop into this space I was going down, my body disappeared, and the only thing that remained was my hand being held by, the mother at this point, is the best way I can explain it. And, she told me as I was sinking into this uncomfortable space that it was going to be a place that I needed to see and that I needed to experience, but I wasn't going to be there that long because my human body and mind couldn't really handle that type of frequency. So I'm just trusting, and I actually remember a moment before like my body disappeared and I really fell into this space and surrendered. I had a moment where I could have panicked, and I remember I was feeling very, very uncomfortable, and I saw my ego sort of have its last hold on reality, and I said no, I trust, and this warm hand that was embracing my own gave me trust, and I let it go, and immediately I was in bliss and had no fear, just only love, even in this uncomfortable underworld that I was now in, as I saw geometric patterns that made up these different beings, and they looked like animals and like these different spirits made of geometry and colors that were swirling and all interconnected. And my body had become two serpents that were interchanging, and was just a very, very intense feeling. And the only thing there besides myself and and the mother who was guiding me through the space was the shamans. I saw them, the maestros were just there as energy, and I could see their icaros, their plant songs, their medicine songs were moving not only the space in the room, which I seen the night before, but also in this different realm I was in now, how these songs keep everything connected and moving slow, and that they're also, their energy is there connecting with these great spirits. And it was incredible. It was really just expanding my capacity to handle these different frequencies and sensations, and just my capacity to feel and experience with my somatic existence, but also my energetic existence. So, I was there for a bit, and then I started to float up, and things got a little bit lighter, but ultimately, this like great deep pain and sorrow and grief just like sort of kicked in as I was told that I was in the heart of Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is one of my guides, and something that I connect with deeply in these types of experiences and have in the past. So, but this was new, where I was feeling so much of her pain, where I have felt so much of her love in the past. I was really able to feel how much pain she's in now, and really just, she was also explaining that I was there to feel that, to not only continue to expand my capacity to feel and experience, but also to strengthen my purpose to help this planet and to help Mother Earth, and to be a steward of the land and of the people, and to always fight for her, and to strengthen my mission, my purpose, and which it did. And I cried and wept, tears deeply, like I probably never have before, for a few hours as I was experiencing this, or however long it was. I also made it very clear I could only be there for a little bit, and I was just there to feel that and experience that as my beingness was being expanded, and my purpose was being strengthened. So, after this moment, I sort of was brought up into a more beautiful space, a more calm space. And I realized again, I was just my soul. I was consciousness. I was this divine spark that, has taken home in this human vessel for this lifetime, but has now, awoken to this consciousness that I connect with daily in my life. But I was it in this moment. So as I am my soul, I'm in this different space where everything is sort of happening at the same time. Like, I'm in the room, and not only am I in my soul form, but I'm, with the other souls in the room. I can see them, and not only them, but there's many beings in this place, and this is, angels and guides and, star families. I don't know. I can't articulate exactly what these beings were, but it was just light and love. And not only my soul, the souls of people there, souls of people in my life that I'm connected with, and all of our guides and families that exist in other places that are, continuing to support and guide us on our journeys through this, human experience. And it was incredible. I was able to see so many things about my life, about the people in my life, the connections in this lifetime and other lifetimes with these people, with these souls, including the people I was at this retreat with, the people that were facilitating at the retreat. I was able to see also, I had some, for lack of a better terms, maybe for my own life, maybe for, for the world, but some visions and some things that are coming, and some things that I think a lot of us are feeling, and things that I was feeling and receiving and hearing before I went to Peru for a few years now on this spiritual journey through meditation practice and my own spiritual practices. And it was of paradise coming to this planet, this new earth that we talk about. Not only is it here and forming and continuing to expand and take shape, but this is the lifetime, I truly believe with all my beingness, where we get to see this on earth, where we get to experience this within this lifetime, this heaven on earth, this new earth, this golden age that has been prophesized about from every corner of the world for so long. We've reached that time. This is it. And we will be changing. Currently our DNA is changing. I'm experiencing these things in my own life, and I know, firsthand people who are experiencing these things in their own lives as well. This is not like something I've just come up with. This is the thing that's happening widespread on the planet right now. It's slowly going to build and happen with more people. We all spiritually evolve and advance on our own timing as we're supposed to. It's all divine. But we are changing. Not only is the world changing, but the animals here are changing. Every planet in our solar system is changing. And this evolution, we're always changing. Change is the only thing that's really permanent in this universe. But the speed and the rate that it's happening now is something we've never seen, and something that's been prophesized about for a long time. And we're here, in the next 4 or 5 years, our bodies, our beings, our light bodies, our energetic existences and connection to everything is going to be changing and ascending and becoming more powerful. And, these abilities that we've heard about for a long time will be coming back online. And I was in a state of, essentially enlightenment for a week as I was working with these medicines and connected, just blasted wide open, connected to the source like I'd never been before, but just through this pure surrender of my heart. And I felt and saw what we will all be experiencing, through this human body very, very soon. And this is going to unfold, who knows, maybe over the next 100 years before it's, truly, truly unrecognizable on this planet in a beautiful way. But we're all going to be here for it, especially if we maintain the intention to be here for it, if we continue to manifest and envision it in our everydays. And if we are living like it now, or we can learn to live like it now, we will be there for it when it's time. And I was, shown these things, and it was incredible. And I was basically shown these things not only for my own confirmation and my own, hope for the world and for this planet and for humanity, but also to share. So if you hear this, this is a message that came through to me in this ceremony for hope, and to just continue focusing on the light and building a new world, and living like it's here now, because it truly is. This is a frequency we can embody and tap into right now if we choose to. And I can speak from personal experience on this matter. There's just so much love and magic to tap into any single moment of any single day. So that's my second ceremony. Quite profound, compared to the first ceremony, which I didn't think was possible. Wednesday, we take a break. Just had a beautiful day walking around town. I met a new friend this day who's become a very dear friend, who I will be going to Egypt with in February. Just a divine connection. She was at the retreat center in the jungle. I was in the Sacred Valley, and she came out to visit, and we connected, or reconnected, I should say. And then the third day, or the Thursday, third ceremony is in the evening, but during the day it is time for the Bufo ceremony. And quite nervous for this one, because people who know about Bufo or Sapo, or the 5-MeO-DMT, it is the most profound, or the most powerful entheogenic psychedelic on the planet. And it is everything that it is talked up to. I was quite nervous, but I was very excited and very much ready, and was guided into this ceremony with, my brother Theo at Arcana, just one of the amazing facilitators there, who I was very comfortable with. And, as I began to smoke this toad venom that gets essentially milked in a very humane way. And that's one of the best things about Arcana, is all the medicine is super, traditionally used source in just the most humane, ethical fashion. And I'm sucking this very, very warm, hot smoke out of this beaker, and, immediately it hits very fast. I blast off into hyperspace. And I guess something I should mention about the second ceremony with ayahuasca is, as I'm, in this divine consciousness, as my soul, at one point I had taken a back seat, and my body was beginning to feel this energy coming through it. And as I surrendered to this energy coming through, the top of my head, through my being, I'm sort of just my soul watching my mind try to pick apart everything that was happening, like as two separate things. My mind as this introspective tool breaking down what's happening, and my soul just like observing everything. And I began channeling these great spirits, or these energies that were just so unconditionally loving, and was essentially like, my breath was not my breath. It was this very deep That was, which looking back now and even looking at my notes from the day after, it felt like this divine masculine, like this great father spirit that was breathing this super deep, long breaths through my body. And then while this was also happening, these, like, especially on the tops of the inhales and bottoms of the exhales, there was these whistles and sounds and whispers coming out of my body that were, and my tongue was doing things and my mouth was doing things and my hands were doing these mudras that I had never done before. And I had no control. I was really just observing this thing happen, and these energies, and looking back now, I say these great spirits that were flowing through me. And it felt like this divine feminine, divine masculine, or mother, father, God spirits in my being, like channeling through my body. Whether that, I don't, we can interpret this how you'd like. And I lack of better terms, because words don't describe these types of experiences. So moving back forward to the Bufo ceremony, this is really what happened. Is I just was gone, complete ego death. Evan, my soul was even gone, and I just became the universe. I thought I would go to the universe, or like to like the 12th dimension, and I essentially became the universe, and was seeing everything. Like I was so far above this planet and this universe and solar system, and or this galaxy, and sort of was coming back into my soul essence, and was basically listening to this, source tell me these really beautiful things, which is, probably for another time, for this experience is, quite personal. And, I'll slowly get deeper as these podcasts, continue to grow and go along. But really, that I got to see where, like, my soul truly comes from, and what I'm truly connected to, and just the overwhelming power of the love and wisdom of source, of God, and of this universe. And it was incredible. It felt like I could hear, but it felt like there was maybe like 50 or 60 people almost like singing under their breath, and I could hear these, like, almost like these other singing songs, these voices in the distance that I now just interpret as, angels essentially. And I was in this different space, and it was telling me, I was, how powerful I was, what I was connected to, what I truly am, what I'm here to do. It just confirmed so deeply on the most real level my purpose and my essence, as a soul in this human body currently. And it was just incredible. But actually, immediately after the Bufo experience, I had a hard time really even processing all these things, including some of the more personal stuff that I will tell another time. And later that night, it was the third ceremony for ayahuasca, the last ceremony. And yeah, again, I was doing 50 milliliters, so going big or going home. So, I came to surrender and sit with the medicines, and I intend very much to do that. And, my mantra of just having no fear and continuing to rest in my heart and love just continued to carry me through the rest of the week. So the third ceremony was just super profound, and I can probably, explain it in less words than some of the other ceremonies, but I realized after, the next day, what had been happening, not only with every ceremony to that moment, the Bufo experience, the morning, of this third ceremony, and then also this third ceremony, but my beingness was being activated and expanded, like in a very real physiological, but also an energetic level, a metaphysical level. And what happened during this third ceremony was essentially, whereas the first ceremony I was in the heavens, and the other one, the second ceremony, I was in these other astral realms. I was very much in the room, this third ceremony, in my body, as, my soul is just in my being at this point. Even sitting in front of this camera now, this is something I experience day to day. I have literally evolved and transformed because of the time in Peru, and especially this week with the medicines. And my soul at some point left my body, like was essentially creating space throughout this week for what was going to happen, which was my oversoul, my higher self, a part of me that exists with God, that is not tied to any dimension, but this infinite loving awareness from a much higher place, directly from God, came into my being and completely into my body. I mean, the most profound, intense experience of my entire life. The sensations, the emotions, I mean, it was complete and utter oneness. Like, there was oneness on a scale that to this moment nothing has compared to. Maybe nothing ever will. And I could see within this, the color I was seeing, all colors existed, and I can pick them out if I wanted to. And in the emotion that I was feeling, or in the feeling, the sensation, I could see every feeling, emotion, and sensation within that feeling, and I could pick them out if I wanted to. And it was just complete oneness, and it was really beautiful to see. I got to see, the other parts of me that are in, other parts, other galaxies, and that are not only very much a part of my soul and me in other places, but are assisting and guiding my human self on this journey. And it was just incredible. It's really tough finding words for these types of experiences, and I'm doing my best now, but that's the power of these entheogenic, psychedelic, extremely transformational and healing compounds, these plants and fungi and even animals like toads and frogs. My higher self came into my body and was just, showing me things, and making changes to my body and to my energy systems, and, doing things that I'll probably never be able to find words for. But as I was in this higher place looking down, I could see basically, my entire existence, and, from probably before even, the solar system was around. And there's a lot of us, actually, probably some people watching this as well, that this relates to. There's a lot of really, really ancient souls here on this planet, and we're here for this time on this planet, which is so imperative for not only the evolution of the planet, but of humanity. And of course, we're always evolving. Everything ascends eventually. My friend next to me, as I was telling her later the evening sort of what I had experienced, she actually said she saw my soul above my body, like helping my human body almost like breathe and last through this experience of my oversoul coming into my body, because the frequencies and the energy and power that was currently in my vessel was something that I was preparing for during this entire week through these experiences, but something that I probably would have, if it would have happened to me spontaneously before this week, I might have exploded, like literally not been able to handle it. So my soul leaves my body is like giving me, my human body CPR, metaphorically or figuratively, as my body is, just experiencing these activations from. Yeah, and that's the last day. Friday was San Pedro Huachuma, and we were to be doing the medicine with the whole group, and we could be outside, and it was during the day, and it was more of a social, unwinding, grounding, integrative experience. So my main intention with San Pedro was to really ground these energies and these experiences that I had just had, and to come back to earth, because I knew the goal was ultimately bringing this information, the energies and frequencies and all this good stuff, back to earth to share it. It's not for me. This is for everybody. This is for the world. And so that's what happened. And I spent a lot of time crying as I was just filled with this divine love still, this activation that had occurred and completely changed my being. I'm sure there's things that could be measured in my body that have literally changed spontaneously or evolved. And, we can see this in all of our DNA, at this point with these certain, the latent DNA or the junk DNA that science has been wrong about for so many years is starting to come back online. These are our latent abilities and the higher evolutionary states of humanity and of our human bodies. And a lot of us are already experiencing these changes. So it's a really exciting time because of that. It's also a good motivation to start a spiritual practice. If you want superpowers, start meditating. Okay, but Yeah, in all seriousness, it was a little bit tough actually for even like an hour or two, as like I actually went through like this very heavy depression as I came back down to earth, crash landed. I was laying in the yard just crying, like with a smile on my face, but sad as this enlightenment was sort of leaving my body. And not really the enlightenment, but it was more of the frequency, the energy that I was carrying that I knew wasn't going to last forever, as I was working deeply with these medicines, almost on a daily basis. And, but it was good, I just was able to, the level, the frequency that I experience gratitude on nowadays and love for myself and others is, you know, something I never thought I would ever experience in this lifetime. It's purely divine and something that is flowing through me just because I've surrendered to the process of building, purifying my vessel, my temple, my garden, and connecting with spirit, where these things can flow through me. And now I've learned to, embody it. I've learned to surrender to this path and to this life and to these frequencies, and it's something I get to experience and I get to share, and that's the most beautiful thing about it. Obviously, this week, this part of the trip is a little bit long-winded. But I left and I was just so excited, and was sending so much love to all the other people on the retreat that were going home back to the real world. I was just getting ready to get my journey started, and I had one day to just rest, which I had no sleep the entire week, maybe an hour or two every night, if that. I couldn't nap. I had this just like divine frequency flowing through me the entire week. I didn't even need to sleep. I didn't feel tired. I was floating and being completely not only empowered, but like physically charged up by this energy that was flowing through me for the week. So I crashed very hard afterwards. And then after one day of rest, I immediately was heading to the Inca Trail, which is like 4 days, 3 nights, hiking, camping, rainy season, Andes Mountains, Amazon rainforest in the mountains of Peru. And was something that I was underprepared for. And gratefully, a lot of people from my group had me covered on band-aids for my blisters and rope for my shoes as my soles were completely falling off, and super glue. And yeah, they really looked out for me. And yeah, it was crazy. Lots of stories, just so many beautiful views, and just being completely immersed in nature. Maybe I would have needed, or I would have enjoyed a little more alone time. Those days following the retreat, as I'm thrown into the tent with some guy I never met before, and hiking with 15 strangers from all over the world. But it was a beautiful experience being in nature in this way, and it was so intimate, and I really enjoyed just the hiking. So many challenges even mentally, as the pain of hiking and being wet and cold and my shoes falling apart. The guide I was with has been doing it for 15 years. He's probably done 350, 400 Inca trails, and he said I had the worst shoe situation that he's ever seen in his lifetime. So just, one of those things, that's how my life goes, is I'm always, ready for whatever life throws at me. It's always a challenge, and something, most of it's mental. Ultimately the physical is temporary, and nothing lasts forever. So I did the Inca Trail, and then, I spent, about 4 weeks, 4.5, 5 weeks just in Peru in the Sacred Valley in Urubamba, in a beautiful town called Pisac, which is more of like where the community is. A lot of expats. It's a very big spiritual community there. Lots of yoga and different plant medicine, retreats and gatherings and, kirtan, these sorts of things. So I had a very beautiful time there, meeting tons of amazing people on their journeys. So many people being called to this part of the world right now. So it was incredible to all connect in this way, on these frequencies, and so many friends that will be reconnected with, who will be friends forever. And, all of us here on this journey to raise the frequency of ourselves and the planet and the collective. And yeah, it was super cool. Urubamba was a lot more quiet than Pisac, which is where I spent most of my time, which is beautiful because I really got time to be alone in nature, deeply meditating, sitting with different medicines like cacao. And, I basically was on a dieta of Huachuma San Pedro for the entire time. I had been microdosing Huachuma I found a little microdose in a shop, but also on many of my hikes, I probably did a handful, 4 or 5 Wachuma ceremonies, and a couple times with some very good friends of mine, and most of the time just by myself. I would do just a very thoughtful ceremony and, have a day hiking, connecting with the land, connecting with the great spirits that I was very, very much connected to at this point. And was just such a beautiful time. The specifics and different stories of these different experiences and these different ceremonies is definitely for another time, because there's so many of them. And to keep this relatively on time, I will just say that Wachuma is a medicine that I feel very, very connected to, just almost like the mushrooms as well. But one that I feel I have worked with for many lifetimes, just like I feel like I've lived many lifetimes in that part of the world. And I feel like it was, one of my duties is to work with the medicines and be a bringer of the medicines to the people. And to reconnect with this great spirit this plant teacher was incredible, and had so many amazing memories that will be on either future podcasts or other conversations. I'm sure there'll be a time and place. So yeah, the hiking there, the land, the fruits, everything is for the most part organic. They don't have pesticides and, microplastics in the soil and all these crazy things that we have to deal with in the West, especially in the States. All these chemicals and hazards and toxins in our environment. They have none of this stuff. So everything is so fresh and so nourishing to the body. And it's just, that land there is different. Like, there's a healing energy, and it just being there activates something in our body and in our energy that is, unmatched. And there are these places around the world, they call us, and Peru was calling me for years, and I'll be going to Egypt in February, and then Tibet, Bali, and a few other places, and these places are calling me. That's what it was. It was really just 6 weeks of devotion to my spiritual path, to my heart's calling, to Mother Nature, to connecting with other beautiful souls on their journey on this very similar mission, to connecting with all that is, seeing God in every person and everything. One of the most beautiful parts of the trip was I did 3 weeks volunteering at a children's foundation called Niños de Arco Iris in Urubamba. Just like everything that happened on this trip and every place that I saw in this Sacred Valley, it was just a little slice of heaven, fruit trees and flowers, and just every soul working in that place, every employee, every teacher was just incredible, just angelic, such loving beings, serving wholeheartedly with all their soul, every single kid, every child in that facility. And the kids were so nice, and they were ages 3 to 6th grade, and they were so amazing. And I just had so much such an amazing time. Working with kids has become one of my greatest passions, not only because it's so important to give back and to inspire and teach and spread love to the kids, but I learned so much from the kids. Us conditioned and jaded adults can learn so much from children, and connecting with the playful sides, our inner child. One of the most important things that we can do as adults, because so many of us have forgotten not only who that inner child is, but how to connect with it. And it's been one of my greatest passions, is reconnecting, healing, and getting to know very well my own inner child and leading others in this direction. So these other places that I'm going, Egypt is first. This would be a retreat with a very galactic mission. We're doing some grid work, and we are doing temple activations, and it will be very, very spiritually focused. But I have some other locations, and starting this year, I will be traveling most of this year, and excited to share, as always, my journey along the way and all the beautiful experiences. A big part of why this podcast has been started. This will continue to evolve. You can see there's a new plant already. I may have ordered some other plants and lights to set up with the vibe in the back, and but we're rolling. We're here. We're sharing, we're connecting. I am sending love and blessing your way as always. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, this has been episode 2 of the SoulFull podcast. I'm Evan Gage, your host. Peace, love, goodwill to all, as always. I'll see you next time.